Hello, welcome to this workshop. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sarah from Sarah DeGrave Movement, and I am a restorative exercise specialist for those of you who are new to my work and haven't watched any of my videos. I teach people how to restore the natural alignment and function of their bodies through uh, corrective exercises and lifestyle adjustments through restorative exercise. And also through movement mindset is something that I'm working on integrating into that work because I recognize how important one, the mind body connection is, and also when we're trying to make any type of change, there's really more than one angle to it. So a lot of people come at it from either the physical angle or the mental or emotional side of creating change, and also of empowerment and knowledge building and all of that stuff. And what I have come to realize through my own personal experience and through talking to a lot of other people is that there's a lot of value to be had in addressing both at the same time because they're very interconnected. So for example, if I am experiencing a physical issue and I want to change that, I can come at it from the angle of setting up a strategic plan of what exercises do I need to do, what maybe there's a nutrition angle that you need to add in there. And those are all very valuable. But if I don't have sort of the mindset, the goal setting tools, and also the mindset tools to stick with a program or to have the motivation to learn what I need to learn or to get the support that I need to get, then it's not going to do me a lot of good to have the knowledge of the exercises if I'm not using them. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of both. So aligning your body and your mind, and also seeing how aligning your body and your mind so you can step into a fuller, healthier version of yourself and vision for your future. So we're going to be thinking about our future self and doing a little bit of sort of, it's not really mindset work, but I'll just say mindset work for now because I can't think of other words that I want to use for it. A little bit of mindset work around like creating a vision for our future, and how our body plays into that vision, and how we can support ourselves mentally and physically in order to get to that vision that we have for ourselves. So we'll be doing mostly some goal setting, I'll walk you through a process of setting goals that are really helpful helpful in like coming from a place of self-love and positivity, as opposed to a place of self-criticism and negativity, either about yourself or about your current state, or about what you think is possible or what you should be doing. So we're going to get away from shoulding ourselves and into the realm of just imagining what is possible for ourselves and then coming up with a plan to get there. And then we'll do just a tiny bit of some physical alignment stuff as we go to connect to ourselves in a more grounded way, and also to start actually taking action to realign our bodies. So we're going to start by taking a few deep breaths. And these aren't just going to be any deep breaths. These are going to be deep breaths that are going to actually be a physical exercise for the intercostal muscles, which are the tiny muscles between your ribs that are responsible for helping you breathe. And sometimes, oops, I forgot to tell my computer that it doesn't need to fall asleep. So let me just do that really quickly so that it doesn't cut out on me. Let's see, that's not. I just have to figure out which section this is in. Here we go. Power adapter. Give me an hour. There we go. So we're waking up the muscles in here that a lot of our muscles have sort of gone dormant over the years. We don't use them in the way that nature designed them to be used, and they sort of become a little bit inactive, and we need to wake them back up and start using them so that we maintain our capacity to use them. And we want to, of course, maintain our capacity to take deep breaths and oxygenate our blood, which carries the oxygen to our cells and keeps our cells healthy. So what you're going to do is, if you can, put your hands on your rib cage. If not, just imagine that there's, or you can tie like a kind of a elastic type of band, or wrap a yoga belt or a pair of nylons around your rib cage, like so. But I like to just put my hands on there. This is just to, you don't want it like super tight. It's just to give you a little bit of proprioception, of a little bit of feedback, so you have resistance to push into, because we're going to breathe in to our ribs, but instead of like breathing shallowly from the chest, so if you breathe in and your shoulders come up, or your chest lifts up, there might not be a lot of capacity for expansion here, so we're working on that. Or in some practices, you just breathe into your belly, and that bypasses the rib cage. So we're going to try to breathe sort of 360, if our rib cage was a barrel, through the whole, the sides and the front and back, as opposed to just thinking of the chest. So either using your hands or some other resistance, or just closing your eyes and focusing on the sensation. Go ahead and take a deep breath, expanding 360 through the ribs. And do go ahead and close your eyes, because we also want to use this. This is both a physical exercise and also to sort of center ourselves. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a few more deep breaths in and out, and in and out. If you can, breathe through your nose. Our body actually processes air differently through our nose than through our mouth. And one more deep breath, thinking out into those side ribs and the back ribs. And release that. And shake out a little bit, let out any air, and just relax a little bit. Maybe do a couple of shoulder rolls to the back, shoulder rolls to the front. The other great thing about movement, even gentle movement, is that the blood flow and oxygenation not only helps all of our cells, but also helps like our brain function. So when we're working through problems, or when we're trying to relieve stress or anything of that nature, having that connection to our breath and having blood flowing up to our brain and other parts of our body can actually be a really important part of that process. So we're going to start with, well, we started with that, but as part of our sort of goal setting, future visioning section, I'm just going to have you think about what, in your ideal future, so don't put any restrictions on yourself right now of what you think is possible or impossible. Um, I mean, if you want to put the the kind of restrictions of like probably you're not going to turn into a unicorn, maybe you don't have to put that restriction on, but like if you if what when I ask like how do you see your future self in an ideal future? So in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you can choose depending on on what age you are right now and how far you want to think out. But think like over the age of 50, if you're, I would say at least 20 years, think at least 20 years from wherever you are right now. Uh, and ideally think, like pretty far down the line where you would ideally like to see yourself. So imagining what would you like to be doing? What activities would you like to be doing? If you are working in a career, what career is that? And how do you feel about that work? And what part does that play in your life? Family, how you're interacting with your family, how much time you're spending with your family, vacations, locations, things like that. Are there places in the world that you want to explore? Um, are there hobbies that you want to take up? Things like that. So just take a few minutes. And if you have a piece of paper or a journal, I highly recommend just jotting down some thoughts for yourself. You can even pause this video and take 5 or 10 minutes to just do some journaling and just write out. You can do either like stream of consciousness. Don't put any judgments on it right now. Just think about, ideally, what does my future look like? For example, for me, I would like to be traveling a little bit more. When I am retired or in my golden years, I would still like to be active. I really enjoy walking. So it's sort of a dream of mine to be able to do some long distance walking tours in Europe. Uh, so that I would like to be able to have like a nice home and keep my home nice and be a little bit more out in nature. Trying to think what else. I definitely want to be surrounded by family and friends, but I probably won't have children, so I would like to be hanging out with my cats. So just think about that for yourself for a minute. And then after you've had time to really kind of get a little bit of a vision of your ideal future, sort of tap into how that feels also. So we want to bring our emotional connection into this because that's really what's going to excuse me, what's going to keep us motivated to actually take steps towards that future, and what's going to keep us positive and engaged and actually taking action is connecting not just to the thought of it, but really to the emotion, to the excitement, to the whether it's like a sense of community, a sense of adventure, however that makes you feel. Take just a second, take a deep breath into your ribs again, and just imagine yourself. Maybe choose one specific circumstance. So maybe you're imagining yourself in your living room playing on the floor with your grandkids. Maybe you're imagining yourself in a really sunny lavender field in France, or just in your own backyard planting tomatoes. And really kind of imagine the the sensory experience of that and the emotional experience of that. And once you get a little taste of that feeling of that ideal future self, even if you can't really, sometimes, oh, I guess I didn't press the right button. That just fell asleep again. Oh well, I'll just keep playing with my mouse so it doesn't fall asleep. Sometimes it's hard for me, like when I'm doing visualizations, I'm like, I can't really connect with that. But even if you can just get like the tiniest little glimpse of that, that's fine for now. And then our next step is going to be thinking about how our bodies play into that picture. So I think we often think about our future in these kind of abstract thoughts. So it's like, oh, I want to be making six figures, or I want to have 3 kids and 2 dogs. I want to have I want to like have the prize winning pie or the prize winning quilt at my local uh, fair, whatever, like whatever brings you joy or whatever goals you have. Sometimes we think of them in rather abstract ways or just kind of like just as thoughts. And we don't really think about the steps required to get there, or sometimes we think about the steps required to get there in a strategic way, but we don't think about how our physical bodies play into that. So we know that we need to take care of ourselves. We know that we need to move and we need to eat healthily in order to have energy and feel good. But I feel like we don't necessarily take the time to really connect to what that means and really visualize what that looks like. It's always just this like should do again with the shoulds, and it's like something on our to-do list of like, oh well, I know that I need to work out and I know that I need to eat vegetables, and that's just uh, something that I have to do as a human, but we don't really connect it specifically to our our goals and our vision for ourselves. So I want you to take a minute and think about, in these circumstances of your ideal future, what does your body need to be able to do in order for you to fully enjoy that future that you are envisioning for yourself? So in some of the instances, that examples that I already gave, it might be something like, if you want to be gardening in your back garden, then you need to have the capacity to maybe squat down comfortably for long periods and shift around in a squat, or be on your knees for long periods. Excuse me, I'm gonna get some water because I think this is gonna just keep going. But think about that. This is what happened when you don't plan for your future. I didn't think about how my voice was going to need to be hydrated to talk through this whole workshop. But our body is involved in everything that we do. We're never without our body. And so it's important to start really connecting in a more tangible way to all the ways that our body is supporting us every minute of the day, and thinking about what do we need to do to support our bodies so that it can support us in the way that we want it to. So again, some other examples would be, for me, for my future, I need to make sure that I have the ability to walk comfortably for long periods of time over uneven surfaces. I have worked in a shoe store for a couple of years, at least now. And they sell minimal shoes, barefoot style shoes, things like that. more kind of foot healthy stuff. And I have seen a lot of older women who come in and they're getting shoes for vacation, and they're kind of talking about how they've lost the ability to walk comfortably for long periods, or to feel safe on cobblestone is a big one. People who are going to Europe, and they're going to be on these uneven surfaces, and most of the time we are on sidewalks that are very flat and level, and we become accustomed to that, and we don't really get challenged in a variety of ways. So that might be a physical capability that you need your body to maintain, is having the balance, being able to balance well, and having the tolerance and the muscle strength of the hips and the legs to walk for long periods. What else we talk about? Oh, if you were imagining playing on the floor with your grandchildren, then of course you're going to need the ability to get up and down from the floor, which a lot of people, even young people, now are starting to lose that capability very early, because if you don't use it, your body's not going to just maintain it unless it sees a reason to. So getting up and down from the floor, or if you want to be able to pick up a toddler, a heavy toddler. I see even younger people, even younger mothers, friends of mine who have younger children, talking about the back pain and the hip pain and other issues, and having to carry a child requires a lot of strength, because you go from not having to do that to having to do it very frequently for, carry a moderately heavy load for a long period of time, and we get into these habitual ways of doing things too. So we have, unless we consciously choose and know ways to mix that up and do it in better alignment so that it's not having as damaging effects on our bodies. That's another like way that you want your body to be able to support you, that maybe it's not currently, and maybe you in the future you want to make sure that that's something that you can do. So if you've been listening to me talk and you haven't taken a moment yet to write down tap into your own vision for the future and write down, how do I want my body to be able to support me in this future vision for myself? Go ahead and take a minute to do that. Press pause if you need to, and just make a little list. Just play some little videos in your mind of the things that you see yourself doing in your future, and then really look at yourself in those videos, and not only what does your body need to be able to do, but how comfortable do you want to be able to do it? So like, I know a lot of people who can sit on the floor, but they just can't do it comfortably for very long. So after about 5 minutes, they have to get up and sit in a chair or stand. So think about all those aspects of how your body connects to that vision for your future. And if you're having trouble thinking really far into the future, and of course anything you write down today is going to change over time, and it's not like we're not asking you to decide your future or predict your future in this moment. Just kind of daydream a little bit. But you can also ask these questions about the present, like, how do I feel in my body right now? How would I like to feel? How do I wish that my body was supporting me better? And we'll talk about like what do I need to do to support it better. We'll talk about that in a minute. And how would that change your experience of your life in this moment? Or like 3 months, 6 months from now, if your experience in your body changed, how would that change your experience in other parts of your life? So now that we know or have imagined what we want our bodies to be capable of doing, how we want them to be able to support us in pursuing our dreams and of this fulfilling, joyful future, let's start to think about what are the actions we need to take to make that possible. So what do we need to do to support our body so that it can support us in return is really the question, the main question of this. And that might come down to what knowledge do I need to have, what tools do I need to have, what strength or mobility do I need to improve upon, or do I need to maintain? It might just be a matter of maintaining where you're at right now. It might be a matter of improving where you're at in certain areas of strength or mobility, or if there are pain issues that you're having or pain issues that you want to avoid. So if you know, like common symptoms that get attributed to aging, and I don't really care for this idea of blaming everything on getting older and making it sound like it's inevitable and you have no control and you should just all you can do is complain and there's nothing you can do about it. I would rather believe that I can actually take positive action and have some say in what my future looks like. So, but part of that is having the knowledge to make better choices that are going to help us avoid things like joint deterioration and back pain and knee pain and hip pain and bunions and foot pain. Pelvic floor dysfunction is something that is really tremendously on the rise, especially for women. And a lot of that comes down to just the way that we are mostly unconsciously choosing to use our bodies every day in the ways that they don't really get a lot of natural movement just because our lifestyles have changed from the way they were, thousands of years ago. We're now asking them to sit at desks for 8 hours a day, and they were really built to be, in that more hunter-gatherer type of setting. And so the support that we used to get from our environment that would just naturally move our bodies in the way our bodies needed, we now have to start to consciously choose to supplement in certain ways to make sure that our body can maintain that level of health and function that we want for our future. So maybe you have a certain physical practice that you're already doing, maybe you don't. But I found what a lot of people are missing, and what I was missing until I started studying restorative exercise, was really a basic understanding of how my body was built to function, what natural neutral alignment looks like, and how to find that in my own body. So I didn't know about any of that. And I was going to yoga. I was trying to eat healthily and move healthily. And I wasn't like, let's be honest, I wasn't really like working out all the time. I wasn't like a super exerciser. I'm still not. But I was drawn to movement like yoga. And it definitely, and I also did dance when I was younger, and I still dance a little bit. And any kind of movement, I think, really helps with the body, although some movements, even exercise type movements, can actually be detrimental, but I won't get into that at the moment. But what was missing for me was this knowledge that I didn't even know that I didn't have because I had never thought to. It's kind of like if you've ever been in a situation where someone's like, well, if you were unsure, you should have asked a question. You're like, I didn't know I didn't think that I had any questions because I thought I knew the answer. It was sort of that situation where it's like you don't even know to ask the question because you didn't realize that anything was missing. That was maybe a little bit convoluted way to say that. But the gist of it was that I just randomly started coming across this restorative exercise information. And as I did, I was like, oh my gosh, this just makes so much sense. And why did no one ever tell me? Like, why did no one tell me how the rise in the heel of my shoe was like totally messing with my alignment and how that was shifting where my pelvis was in space and how that's important for how everything is stacked and that really made a difference in my ability to start assessing and addressing the kind of chronic aches and pains that were popping up in my body, and also just my general sense of empowerment when it came to my own health and feeling like there are options out there and I get to choose what's right for me, and having more information, having more tools in my alignment toolbox and in my movement toolbox really was a game changer for me. So anyway, that is all linked back to this question of what, and maybe that you are in the situation where like you don't know what you don't know yet. So maybe this is a hard question to answer because maybe you don't know. Maybe you know that you want to be able to sit on the floor when you're 90 years old, but you don't know like what do I have to do to maintain that. My advice for that one is just to keep sitting on the floor. Like, just keep using that capability. That's a pretty easy one. If you sit on the floor every day, it'll definitely help with your ability to be able to do that when you're 90. But there's also other exercises you can do to help keep the parts and the mechanics that are needed in order to make that happen. You can specifically start to strategically strengthen and lengthen and support the function of those separately from just other than just making sure you continually sit on the floor. But if something does spring to mind, if you're like, again, let me go back to the question so I don't get too far off track. What do you need to know, or what tools do you need to use to be able to support your body to do that? If anything springs up for you, go ahead and write that down. Even if it's just move more. I know I need to move more. I know I need to eat better. I know I need to, what else would you need to do to be able to, I know I need to find more information on this one topic. Maybe there's something already that you want to address or prevent, something specific, and you can look for more information or teachings around that topic. And then I'll tell you at the end of this what the work that I have been using is and what has made a difference for me. But we won't get into that quite yet. So now we're at the goal setting stage. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm all about setting loving, compassionate, positive goals, ones that are really rooted in this sense of possibility and in this sense of um, self care and like supporting ourselves uh, in a way that makes us excited about the future we're trying to create, as opposed to goals that feel like a little bit more that we're critical of where we're at, or that we're afraid of of a certain outcome, um, or kind of self-shaming goals. So let's see if I can think of an example. So let's say you wanted to change your diet. You might set a goal that you want to like reduce your sugar intake. And it can be either from a place of, I want to do this for myself because I know that it makes me feel really good. I'm really excited about um, how I'm going to feel after I do this, and the results it's going to create for me in my life, and how it's going to get me closer to this goal I have of having more energy and being able to use that energy to work on my business or to play with my kids or whatever. Like whatever your why is, you really need to make sure that your goal is attached to a bigger why and a bigger reason and a bigger motivation that is something that feels good and that you are drawn to and really want, as opposed to, I feel like I should stop eating sugar because I don't like because I don't have any self discipline and I'm a terrible person, and it makes me feel ugly and like coming from this like, oh, I should do it because someone told me I should, and I know that everyone says that I should, and so I should just do it, and I should have done it a long time ago. And I just um from a place that feels like kind of negative. And so you can have the same goal and just shift what's motivating it, or you can just choose a different goal that feels better. So maybe I don't really like to talk about weight loss a lot because it's not something that I really uh, focus on. So it feels weird for me to even talk about it. But I know that some people have that goal, and that's totally fine. Um, but a lot of times, maybe it comes from a sense of not loving yourself, or not feeling good about yourself, or not feeling good about your weight where you're at. And um, so you might choose to either shift the way you're thinking about your weight loss goal to, I recommend shifting kind of away from a number and towards, well, we do want to have measurable goals. So something that you can actually track whether you've achieved it or not, I think is important. So if your goal is just to get healthier, that's not a very effective goal. Um, if your goal is to get healthier by doing 30 days, making sure you eat a green vegetable every day for 30 days, that you can measure and you can kind of track whether you achieve that goal or not. Uh, and so weight is tricky because you can track the numbers. Um, but again, it comes back to that you want to attach it to that why, and you want that why to come from a place of self love and not self loathing. So I guess that's the thought I was trying to distill through all of that. So if your number is just either coming from a place of, oh, I feel like I will finally feel good about myself if I hit this number, um, or if it's kind of an arbitrary number, and it's not really attached to like a feeling of, oh, I feel like I will have more energy to do this thing that I love, or I feel like I will have, um, I really want to get back to like how you feel in your body and like the capability of your body. Those are the things that I like to focus on. So, and that's like, how do I want my body to be able to support me? It's not really about like how our bodies look, it's about how we feel in our bodies and what they're capable of. So you can climb a mountain um, at a lot of different weights. Like that doesn't hold you back from that goal, but how you feel in your body and what your body is physically capable of might hold you back from that goal. Anyway, that's just a little bit of my thoughts about weight loss goals. But as long as you can find a way that feels positive, self-loving, it's coming from a place that feels good, it's a measurable goal, so you can actually uh, not only know that whether you've achieved it, but you can actually put like a specific plan in place, which is the next step. So knowing what the action steps are to that goal. So if you don't have a really measurable, tangible goal, it's probably going to be hard to put action steps to that. And then once you have your action steps, putting in place. So I want you to write all these things down. So write down like at least one loving, measurable goal for yourself of how you want to support your body so that it can support you in reaching this ideal future. And then I want you to write down at least one, preferably 3 systems that you can put in place to support you in reaching that goal. So a lot of times we just put the pressure on ourselves to have the will and the self-discipline to do it. And it's a lot more fun and a lot easier if we actually put in place systems that are going to support us. So that might be accountability systems, whether it's with a friend that you check in with every week, or like a walking buddy or a walking group, or setting up coaching. For me, coaching has been really important for not only the accountability, but also like getting the knowledge and the tools that I didn't know I needed, and having an outside perspective. So those things, you set up those support systems for yourself, so you don't just have to depend on yourself and one, maybe the limited knowledge that you have or tools that you have, and 2, your own self-discipline, which personally I don't find to be a very effective system if I'm just like, oh, I just have to be more self-disciplined. And also that tends to lead into that kind of shame cycle, because then if you fail, then you're like, oh, I'm a failure. I don't have what it takes to do this thing, or I'm not good enough, or I'm lazy, or, it tends to trigger that negative thought and emotion cycle, which isn't helpful. So make it easier for yourself. And set up some systems of support and just have those in place, especially if you can get them like something that is on your calendar that you don't even have to think about. So it might be scheduling in meal prep time, like 3 hours on Sunday. I'm going to batch prep my meals for the week, and just putting that on the calendar so you don't have to make that decision every week of when am I going to do this. It's already made for you. So just like make some decisions in advance, set up some coffee with friend in advance, or a walking date. So that also you can have, I find like maybe finding an online community of people who have a similar goal and can support you can be a good one. I feel like I had some other, let me see if I can find Nope, I closed it. I had a worksheet that had some other examples that I forgot to make note of. But go ahead and take a minute if you need to. Pause this and think about what are 3 support systems I can put in place. And let's see. Yeah, that's that goal setting system. And then I did want to talk about what has helped me and what has worked for me. And that's restorative exercise, which I now teach. And I teach it now because I feel so passionate about the value that it provides and the empowerment that having that knowledge has given me and gives those around me when I'm able to share that information. And so this could also be a system that you set up to support you. So enrolling in coaching, as I said, has been really important for me. I've not only had other movement mentors, but I also rely on other experts in other health areas to help me out. And I also rely on my movement community and also have a life coach who I work with sometimes. So having that built-in outside perspective and also that built-in accountability has been really important for me and so worth the investment every time I make it to know that, one, I have that call on the calendar. It's set up and I know I'm going to show up at this certain time and that I have set probably some action steps for myself from the last time that I saw my coach, and that motivates me to accomplish those things. One, knowing that someone's going to ask me about them. Two, knowing that I have invested usually money into my coaching, and so I don't want that to go to waste, so that motivates me. And 3, just knowing that there's going to be someone to support me, and they're not going to be judging me whether or not I achieve those goals. They're going to help me figure out, one, like why I didn't, if I didn't, how I can adjust what I'm doing to hopefully get back on track to where I want to be. And they're going to offer me tools that I don't already have in my toolkit. So my life coach, for example, all the time has tools for me that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really practical way to assess this situation and figure out what I need to do next. And they're not things that I already have downloaded in my brain. So without her, I never would think of them. But I have started to incorporate a little bit more mindset in my work, but really my coaching up to this point has been a lot of restorative exercise. So I do work with people one-on-one, but what I wanted to talk about more than private coaching today was this group program that is coming up that I'm launching for the first time called Aligned and Empowered, which is a small group online coaching program for women, women who are compassionate and curious and want to know more and want to feel more confident about what steps to take to support their bodies, and also who want that community support. So what I have found is not only is it helpful to have one-on-one support, but it's so nice to feel like there are other people doing the work with you, that you're not working in isolation, just trying to dig your way out of the hole all by yourself, but there are other people cheering you on. There are other people understanding the struggles you're going through because they're going through the same things, and they are there to support you. And then there is someone leading the group who is there to answer questions and to offer tools and resources and anything you need in order to get to where you're trying to go. And so I really saw an opportunity with restorative exercise to help people not only align their bodies, but also start to kind of align our mindset and our mental and emotional bodies to support us in this action of getting towards this fuller, more joyous, more easeful vision of our future selves and goals that we have for ourselves. And for me, a big part of it, as I've mentioned, has been building that toolbox of physical alignment exercises and just knowledge about how my body works so that I can not only take action towards maintaining the physical function that I want to maintain, but also whenever something kind of springs up in my body, whenever discomfort starts to arise, I have tools to actually assess that on my own and start to take action right away, either by adjusting my posture if I notice that something that I'm moving in a way that isn't in alignment, I can adjust my alignment and start moving differently. Or if I notice that I'm not moving enough in certain areas or in certain ways, I can start to make a conscious choice to add a little bit more of that type of movement in. And then also when I am relying on outside opinions for extra help, I feel much more confident in being able to assess whether those practitioners or that treatment is right for me. I've talked about this a lot for people who follow my work, but when I was younger, I had a surgery on my foot, and it's not like the doctor who recommended that I have surgery on my foot, of course, was trying to give me the best advice and the best outcome possible for the symptoms that I was experiencing that were very painful. I was having a lot of shooting pain. I had a bunion surgery, so I was having shooting pain through that big toe joint. And I was dancing at the time, and it was really painful for me to put on my tap shoes because they were really tight and they were really squeezing that area, and it would just send like terrible pain. And the traditional model of podiatry, and not every podiatrist teaches this now, but kind of the conventional view is sort of that when pain arises in the foot, there's like something wrong with the foot and we need to fix that, usually with orthotics or surgery. And I didn't know anything about my body really and was young and all that. And so that all seemed logical to me. But knowing what I know now, I look back and I'm like, oh, I totally had other options. It wasn't, yes, I was having this symptom, but if it had been really addressed at the root cause in a holistic, natural way, I feel confident that I could have resolved the issue. One that was causing the symptom, but also that is probably causing other things. Everything's connected. So if we just mask the symptoms and we don't ever get to the root cause of what's causing that dysfunction, that friction, that pain, not only is it never really going to resolve in that area, but also it could be affecting other areas of the body that we don't even realize. So often with foot stuff, it can be affecting the ankles, the knees, the hips, all the way up that chain. So if we're not actually addressing like what's not working in the foot that's making it do this thing that it's doing and feel this way that it's feeling, then we're not really getting to the root cause and addressing it, and hopefully, helping the whole organism work better. But all that to say, that really has led me to be very passionate about not just helping people avoid surgery. I mean, helping people avoid unwanted surgery when it might not be necessary, I guess, is is the way to say that, because sometimes you just need surgery. Like sometimes that's where your body is at and that's the best option, but it's nice to not feel like you're in a position where you're giving away all of your control and you feel overwhelmed and you feel frustrated and you feel scared, because you don't really understand for yourself anything that's happening and you don't feel like you have any options besides what this one person is telling you. And it just put me in a position where now I feel much more able to advocate for myself and also to explore other options, and to feel like I have a little bit of a better compass for figuring out what feels right for me. So that's one thing that I want to help other people with, and why Align and Empowered, this group coaching program, is super comprehensive. So it's a 10-week program, and I essentially lead you through like head to toe realignment of the body, teaching you alignment points in your body so that you can start to adjust your posture and the way that you're moving through your everyday activities. So there's a lot of things we can change without even adding any extra exercise, which is great. There's a lot of things where we can just adjust what we are doing every single day a tiny bit, and that can lead up to massive change in the long run, all those tiny little changes. And then we can also start to add these supplemental corrective exercises, which I will teach you, which when there is an area that has sort of over time adapted to the way that we have been using our bodies, and maybe it's no longer in alignment and the muscles have adapted to that position, we can start to gently encourage them to get back into their natural alignment and to lengthen where they need to lengthen, to strengthen where they need to strengthen in order to maintain that aligned function. So I'll teach you all of that. So exercises for the full body, every area of the body. And of course, as I was saying, it's all connected. So even just working on like the feet is going to have an effect all the way up the chain. But we're not just going to work on the feet. We're going to work on everything from the feet to the head. And then also talk about the ways that it links into lifestyle and how we can just adjust certain things about our everyday lifestyle and our everyday routines that are going to really support our bodies so that they can support us in return. And I want to make sure, because I've already sort of forgotten what I've mentioned about this program, that I touch on everything. So there's a 10 weeks of group coaching, so 10 group classes, and then there's also three private sessions with me. So mini sessions where we will check in. I will help you with goal setting. I will help you with accountability, so making sure that you're staying on track, that you're not getting lost or left behind, and also on modifying everything. So all of our bodies are different. Sometimes you'll come across an exercise and either it won't make sense and you'll need to ask a question and you'll need a little bit more one-on-one with that, or it won't quite work for where your body is at and you'll need a modification. So I'll help you with all of that. So it's not just like I'm giving you these classes and then you just do them alone in your house, and if you have any questions, you're sort of on your own. You'll have the group. We'll have a private Facebook group that you can ask questions anytime. You can interact with other people and get support, and then you'll also have check-ins with me to get personalized support. And what else is in there? And then also I'll be giving you exercises, kind of like this future visioning and goal setting to help support the mindset and the emotional and psychological side of aligning with who we are trying to become, like the results that we are trying to get out of this program, and also just supporting the process of change and of building new habits, which can be more than just a physical activity. And I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. And this program is really appropriate for all levels of fitness. Like I said, everything is modifiable. So, and everything is, it's not like a blood, sweat, and tears type of exercise program. It's very gentle, it's very adjustable to where you're at, and it's more about slowly coaxing things into change rather than pushing or forcing or I can't think of any other words for that. Yeah, like forcing things into change. And I've worked with people who don't have any real movement experience, and I've worked with people who are other movement professionals who are. There are a lot of restorative exercise people who are chiropractors or Pilates instructors or yoga instructors, and there's a whole separate set of skills that come with restorative exercise that aren't even taught through Pilates or yoga. And often, uh, sometimes restorative exercise can help undo. Not that I don't want to say that like yoga and Pilates are inherently damaging. There's a lot of great things about yoga and Pilates, and the more that you understand your own body and how to keep it safe, uh, the easier you'll be able to engage with other types of exercise and movement and feel like you really are getting the most benefit out of them because you'll know which pieces of your body are actually moving and which pieces you are maybe getting around your tension in certain ways or reinforcing bad habits or destructive patterns that you didn't even realize you had. So you'll start to notice those patterns of movement and you'll be able to notice them and then adjust. And it also keeps your body in a safer position when you are able to adjust your alignment and not rely on someone else to always have eyes on you all the time and let you know when something is putting you in a compromised position. So regardless of whether you are um, a movement aficionado or a couch potato, this is for everyone. And it's also it's a 10-week program, but there are things you'll start noticing. Sometimes it's one thing will make a huge difference. I've worked with one client of mine. We just had a 30-minute session. She was having low back pain during her, she was like an exerciser and she would be doing like more heavy duty lifting workouts and she was getting this back pain and it was just a matter of like tweaking some alignment things for her. So some of these alignment things just right away will change your experience in your body. And then some other things will be things that you'll work on for the rest of your life. So it's not a quick fix system by any means. It's real, sustainable movement from now until the day you move no more. That's it. If you have any questions about that program, I would love for you to join me. As I said, it's a small group program, so it's just 7 women because I don't want anyone to get lost in the crowd. I want to be able to check in with you, and not only for me to kind of be able to keep track of where everyone's at and what their needs are and support you in any way I can, but also so that you can really feel like you are building friendships and movement buddies in the group and really getting to know other women who are doing the same thing that might live close to you or that might live on the other side of the world and really building this movement community and this support community. So I'm keeping it small and some of those spots are already filled, but I would love for you to fill up the rest of them. If you have any questions, email me at hello@sarahdegravemovement.com. And I will also put a link in the description that will have how to sign up and also like all the information in case I totally spaced on something, which I probably did. So check that out. Look at all the details. And if it feels like the right next action step for you, then I highly encourage you to make that one of the systems that is going to support you in getting that goal, that is going to get you a step closer to that beautiful future that you, wrote down for yourself. And good, we are a little bit over the hour, but if you have a moment and you want to stick with me, I just want to do a little bit of actual physical movement. That was a lot of mental and perhaps emotional work that we did at the beginning of this. And this will give you also just a little bit of an idea of what we'll be working on in the Aligned and Empowered program. So we did that breathing exercise, which is starting to stretch our intercostal muscles and strengthen them and improve our breathing. And now we're going to just check out where our shoulders are at in terms of tension. We spend a lot of time, as I just did, sitting in front of my computer. I wasn't typing this whole time, but often we are typing or we are driving or we are doing things in this area, and our bodies adapt to that over time. So I want you to go ahead and put your right hand on the back of your left shoulder and let your left shoulder kind of come forward as if you are trying to pull your shoulder blade or your scapula away from your spine. So you're trying to really flatten this out and make space on the back there. And then we're going to kind of keep our hand here to keep it in that wide position. And then go ahead and lift your left arm out. And then bring it out to the side. And the key is I'm not letting my shoulder blade retract in toward my spine. So I'm keeping my hand here to keep that forward instead of letting the whole shoulder blade come back. I'm actually keeping the shoulder blade forward and then just swinging the arm back. And also if you are kind of internally rotated like this, you're going to externally rotate. So bring your elbow forward and your thumb up towards the ceiling, or even you can rotate it farther so that your palm is facing up. And you can either have your arm mostly straight or you can add a little bit of a bend. And you might already feel tension shooting down your arm just from here. So you can stay here, or you can explore the space a little bit, still keeping that shoulder blade forward. Bring your hand up to the ceiling, drop it back down, hand up to the ceiling, drop it back down. Go ahead and do the same on the other side. Put your left hand on your right shoulder blade, let your right shoulder blade come away from the spine and drop forward a little bit. Rotate your arm outward and then out towards the side. And then if you want to play with this range of motion, lift it up towards the ceiling, back down. Then we're going to bring both arms forward and rotate them out so our palms are facing up, and then bring them out to the side. And again, try not to let the shoulder blades really pull in towards each other, but try to keep them wide and just swing the arms back. And go ahead and add a little bend to your arms here. And then lengthening the back of your neck as if someone was pulling a ponytail kind of up and away towards the back, up corner of the wall. So your chin is going to drop down a little bit and your ear is going to shift back a little bit. That's going to this rotating motion. Once you add a little bit more length to the back of the neck, go ahead and drop your right ear to your right shoulder. I'm probably mirrored in this video, so you're like, that's my left. And bring it back up. Drop your left ear to your left shoulder. And come back up. Let's go back to the right ear to right shoulder, and this time with your left arm. Again, just explore this space, explore the mobility of the shoulder, and if you find one particular spot of tension, you can just hang out there, or you can keep playing with the movement. And you can really try to pull that elbow forward. And then bring your head back up, drop it to the left side, keeping the back of the neck long. And go ahead and play with this range of motion. Oh, again with the computer falling asleep. I have to make a note to myself next time I do a video to fix that first. If you have one sticky bit, just hang out there. Go ahead and pull those elbows forward. Stretch those fingers out. And then drop that. We're just going to do one more quick exercise, which is to do a twist. I'm going to go ahead and sit on this bolster with my legs crossed. You can do all of this in a chair, by the way, if you are in a chair, which I guess I just assume not most people are, but you can do it on the floor or standing or in a chair or anywhere in between. There's so many ranges of shapes that we don't explore. You could do this in a squat. Maybe not this next one. Anyway, go ahead and lift your ribs up as if you were taking a deep breath like this, kind of arching your back. And then on the exhale, you're going to let your ribs drop, sort of deflate, so that your bottom rib is now stacked more over the top of your pelvis. If you had your hand on your sternum, it would be the difference between being up like this and being more vertical. Your back is a little bit flatter here. And from this relaxed, ribs dropped position, we're just going to go ahead and twist to the right, not grabbing onto anything and like using that to push ourselves further. We're just going to go as far as we could go with the strength and mobility of our core. And then we're just going to gently rest our hands. We're not going to use our hands to push farther. Just rest where you're at. If you want to, you can also, again, first lengthen the back of the neck and then rotate your head also. And see how deeply you can breathe into this, keeping the ribs drop down. You may notice when you're in this twisted position that because of tension in the ribs and the core and other places, the back, that your ability to breathe has become a little bit restricted. And come back to center. If you need to, check in with those ribs again. Make sure they're not lifted up. We want them dropped down in a relaxed manner. And then we're going to rotate to our left and just drop our hands and let them rest there. And then if you want to add a head twist, go ahead and lengthen the back of the neck and turn the head towards the back wall. And just notice again when you try to take a deep breath, if there's any restriction in there besides the restriction of twisting. And then go ahead and come back to center. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. May your body and your life fall more and more into alignment each day. And if you want any support around making that happen, please do check out Aligned and Empowered, or email me with any questions about that program or about any other coaching opportunities. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you next time.